Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, man. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. So, so far,
Good evening, ma'am.
good evening. Good evening. Yeah, one more minute to go. So we have entered into theory of existential approach. Yesterday we could complete Maslow's and Rogers approach. Theory followed by techniques, right? So today we would be doing existential approach. That is also a theory. Uh, Actually, existential therapy or approach is basically about, generally, many people would undergo crisis, trauma, right, suffering, and it could be a person's, suffering could be different from another person. So it's kind of, unique suffering. And many a times, people are generally pushed to or people generally experience uh, severe, dreadful situations. So these experiences are almost, challenging. Yes, yes. I think, someone is not, hasn't muted. They can mute their audio. Okay. So here, these kind of, traumatic experiences, sometimes it challenges their very existence and they start taking things, negatively. They won't be able to see anything positively here, right? And here, these existential psychologists, you can say, like Viktor Frankl, then Rollo May, Yalom. So these are few of the founders or pioneers in existential psychology. And Frankl, actually, people like Frankl, they are big, scientists, but they went through dreadful situations in their life. In fact, one of them, they led their life in, concentration camps during Second World War. So they didn't even had an idea whether they would be alive, next day morning. They didn't find any purpose for their life also. Actually, why we are slogging in these, yes, sub sir?
Yes, madam. No,
Uh,
madam. Good morning. Good evening, Chapman, ma'am.
okay, fine, fine. So, um, what was I saying? Yeah. So it was like, they couldn't even find any meaning to their life. So such people, in spite of all those challenging situations, if they, they came out and they just, restarted, they went through all the experiences, they still, managed to live their life with a hope, right? That means, they must have found some meaning in their life. In spite of all that, they still, maintained some kind of, meaning in their life. So that's exactly how it is to be, understood. So those who have these experiences, still they manage to find some answers to the very existence of, life, God, death. So this is, something like, crux of existentialism. It's very, very philosophical approach to the very existence of human beings. And it actually kind of emphasizes, freedom, choice, responsibility, etc., etc. And Jean-Paul Sartre, he is one, important figure in existential philosophy. His book is Existentialism in Humanism, actually. So what he mentions is, humans are anyway, they are free, they're destined to be free, and individuals have that, responsibility for defining their values, and they must find purpose in their life. So it's nice. According to existentialists, again, personality is never fixed. It's not predetermined at the same time, and it keeps changing by our own choices and actions. So the people like Viktor Frankl, they have taken these concepts seriously, and they did apply also. And man's search for meaning, Viktor Frankl, I really expect you people to suggest you to read his books also. So where he very clearly mentions about what is the value of finding purpose for one's life. And in the meanwhile, individuals can, in the purpose or in the process of finding meaning to one's life only, they can acquire meaning to relationships, accepting, personality, personal responsibility, even, during hardships, etc., etc., right? So, yeah, one second. Let me just share this, okay? Just a minute. There isn't much to be shared today, but still just what we are doing, that's all. I hope you people understand. I came just now from university because I am doing another, like project. So, you. So, okay, there isn't much to share today. Okay, so uh, according to them, existentialists, individual freedom, as I said, choice, personal responsibility. So these are very, very important, which gives, one's a sense of self, which helps them find meaning in life. So people, should be always able to examine their ideals, their worries. In fact, that means always taking care of yourself is nothing wrong in that. You look into yourself. At the same time, one should address their worries also, right? So unless and until you really look into your worries, you will never be able to free yourself. That will only bring or build, freedom to a person, through which, they are going to lead a genuine life. So always that, forming a sense of self is very important. So unless and until you have your sense of self, you will never be able to understand the meaning for your life, the purpose of your life. What is your life? What is your, purpose? What is your ideal? No, these are very important to understand. And there are basic, dimensions, six basic dimensions, which existential approaches, follow very seriously. The six dimensions of the human condition. First one is capacity for self-awareness. So the existential, here, according to Snyder and all that, generally we are always, driven by our very existential position. That only helps us with our capacity to live fully, freely, and expand our awareness also. So we are born like that actually. Okay. So our capacity to expand our awareness, it always, involves understanding about, uh, like we are, kind of finite. We have to take action. Our actions create our destiny. And always, having meaning in life will help us with creativity. And of course, awareness, by being aware only, we will develop a sense of responsibility. So these are, certain aspects related to self-awareness, and all of us have this capacity to understand us from these basic, aspects. Or and not only that, if one is seriously into all these things, they will be able to live their life fully also. I think you can understand, right? We have to take action. Our, actions only create our destiny. So those who believe in all these things, they are, actually destined to find meaning in their life, and they are going to live fully well. That we understand, right? Another basic dimension about existential psychology or approach is freedom and responsibility. Another, characteristics existential theme conveys is, the persons, they're generally free to choose among various alternatives, right? It will only, like help them to play a very big role in shaping their own destiny. So what, Snyder and Krug, they embraces, certain values also for that. And first value is the freedom to become within the natural and within, your limitation, because you have to impose limitation to yourself, because you know yourself. So you have the choice to pick or choose among your alternatives based on your choice, your natural ability, your limitations, right? So naturally, the capacity, kind of another, value is the capacity to reflect on the meaning of your choices also, and the capacity to act on the choices we make. So, end of it, what you need to understand is existentialist thoroughly, uh, supports the concept of freedom and responsibility. You have your freedom to make choices in your life, but once you have taken the choice, be responsible, be authentic with whatever that you do. You be answerable to your choice. You reflect on your choice. That's exactly what it says. That's all. Right. So inauthentically taking up, some choice and remaining non-authentic about your work, your action towards your choice. That's a very, very, bad choice. That is actually bad faith. That is actually, bad for everything, including the person. And next important dimension, another dimension is striving for identity and relationship to others. So based on this only, the entire approach goes, because the end of the day, it's more, kind of philosophical, this very approach. So the entire counseling relationship is very, very, same thing. The cordial, atmosphere and all that will be there. But both, together they strive for this only. The therapist is actually trying to inculcate these values only into the client. So striving for identity and relationship to others, I think you can understand. So it's like, preserving one's own uniqueness and centeredness at the same time, having interest in others, going to others and relate to others, others in the sense to the nature, to the society, to the people around. Why? Because this kind of, alienating themselves from others, becoming, lonely, isolated, that will lead to all the failures. Maybe, first it starts with the failure in the relationships, and then with their own self, and then, probably with nature also. And that is something, relates to all the kind of, disorders, right? And next basic, assumption is the search for meaning. That is the most important and distant characteristic. It's like finding sense of significance and purpose in life. It's nothing but, why, who am I? Why am I here? What do I want to do with my life? What gives my life purpose? So this provides, some kind of conceptual framework, right? It helps the client in challenging the meaning of their life. So this continuous, challenges towards their own, in case, meaningless life, that will create a kind of, value system, and that will again, put them into a consistently working towards finding some purpose and achieving the purpose of life also. So I think you understand this, right? And anxiety as a condition of living. So this is again, anxiety arises from one's personal striving to survive and to maintain and assert one's being, their feelings, and the feelings, here, uh, anxiety generates, probably this is something, which is inevitable because it is always to strive, it's always to survive. That's why the anxiety, actually generates, right? So here, um, this existential anxiety, it is called as, okay, existential anxiety. This is to it arises from one's personal striving to survive and to maintain the being, our assert our being, assert our feelings. So that's what is existential anxiety actually. All of us have this existential anxiety. So according to Corey, existential anxiety, it arises because of the realities of our, survival. And when, we confront or face or encounter pain and suffering and our need to struggle for survival, so that becomes a kind of, question mark, that this anxiety, in fact, it becomes even more. So I think you understand when there are some, and it is very much unavoidable, especially when you are confronted with any uh, death, freedom, choice, meaninglessness to life, isolation. All these are kind of, givens of existence. You cannot avoid. At least, one, two, three, definitely you will be facing. Anybody will be facing. But these are the certain, relatively, more or less, all of us will face at some point or the other. They give rise to existential anxiety, actually. And awareness of death and non-being. So death is not a negative concept according to this group, this school. So it's a kind of, basic human condition, and death is what according to them gives significance of living or life. So it should be seen according to them as a positive force, because that will enable us to live our life completely. And this, overcoming the terror of death, actually, this develops the idea to live your life compassionately with lot of passion and compassion towards your own self. I think you understand this. And what kind of, counseling, existential approaches in the counseling setting now we will be doing. So this is a type of counseling which has evolved from, you know existential principles by now. So the therapist and client, as I said, collaborative in their style, and they investigate the client's problems together, anxieties, needs. And the goal is generally to help the client realize their unique, why they are alive, what is the meaning of their life. And that will, help the person to live their life. At least, they make their research into it, they find what is the purpose, and that will help them to lead a meaningful life. So together, of course, under the, support, with the support of therapist. So here the therapist is going to guide the client through all the themes of existence. So what are the themes here? Freedom, responsibility, mortality. So driving them towards a kind of authenticity. Authenticity means, don't ever mention anything without being responsible towards it. Nowadays, people simply, they speak, they talk anything, but they don't take, action. They don't react to what they're saying. They don't respond, towards what they said. They don't take responsibility, I mean to say, to what they have said. So most of the time, all these ఈ పెద్ద పెద్ద వాగ్దానాలు, all these things, why they have become mockery, why people are making fun of all these things? Because there is no, authenticity. Very few people stand by what they say. Very people stand by what they choose in their life. Yes, I want to be a doctor, I'll remain a doctor. I want to be a, righteous person. I want to be a righteous person and responsible person towards me, my family, society. But yeah, how many of them are able to stand by that? Because you are free to make your choices. Then why are you making the choice if you are not able to take the authenticity or responsibility to what you have said? Because there is freedom. But something what these people, suggest is, have some values. That's what they say. Right? After all, it's about your existence. So your existence has some meaning and purpose. So you find that purpose, you create it because you have the freedom. You have so many alternatives. Among the alternatives, you choose the best for yourself. For that, first of all, you know yourself best. You know your limitations. You know what you are. You know why you are here. So I think, yeah, what they said is correct. And the best, in fact. I like existential approach a lot, in fact. And with regard to techniques here, again, Viktor Frankl, so he follows one therapy called, logotherapy. So this, a very significant, method. So based on the idea that people may find meaning in their lives by taking nothing but responsibility, make your personal choices, accept your circumstances, select, one should be able to select one's attitude towards life conditions, especially amid hardships. Why, he's talking so much about logotherapy? As I told you, Viktor Frankl, he survived all the concentration hardships. Okay, so the Jews, concentration camps, you should be having an idea about all these things, right? So he survived all that. So daily, morning in a particular, dress, they were forced to wear, even in those hard, kind of, cold weather, how they had to take up, they had to go through those hardships. And without, being certain about their very survival, he was trying to find meaning. He was hoping to complete his book. In fact, he had so many, thoughts and uh, ideas and beautiful, ideology to live up or to give it to not only himself but to others also. So he survived all that hardship, he survived all that misery. and still, continued to have hope. Probably that is what made him to come back to life, and he became, such a big scientist, such a big, psychologist, in fact, such a, kind of, he was like a speaker, and in various universities, in fact, he gave speeches and he shared about logotherapy, and it is one of the most successful therapies today. So this therapist actually, in help with logotherapy, helps clients uncover the meaning and purpose that may be, found during their own experiences. So they have to acquire insight into their own beliefs, their objectives. But how do they find? Through their own, self reflections, their own, investigation about their life, about their own experiences and their beliefs and thoughts and emotions. Everything needs to be again, researched about, and investigation has to happen so that they can find what exactly is their meaning in life. And there is another method also, and this is like, focusing on understanding the client's experiences and the meanings, they what they ascribe to their feelings, behavior. So it's more or less like, subjective reality from the client side. So it's like, their viewpoint about their uh, all the, kind of beliefs about them, their experiences, their viewpoints, their perception about, bigger things like universe, etc., etc. So it's like, discovering the depth and complexity of the client's subjective experience here. So clients should be encouraged to reflect on their emotions, their perceptions, so that both, client first of all need to have a better understanding of what they think. And while we are using, no, when a therapist is using this technique, it will give a deeper understanding of the client, and client will get, a better understanding of their own self. So it's like, it will help the client in investigating their experiences of anxiety, probing. It's like, and it will trigger also behind what exactly is there behind their anxieties and worries and all that. So a lot will come out. It's like, almost laying a groundwork for the client to create their own coping mechanism. Okay. And that will lead to their growth only, no? Right? So what are the goals of existential approach means, first and foremost, naturally, facilitating the clients to in building a really, good state of self-awareness, a high states of self-awareness, and awareness of others also. Understanding of themselves is anyway good, but understanding of others is also equally important. And number two, uh, helping them to recognize and addressing the barriers which are actually becoming a hurdle in crossing the uh, complexities actually. Okay. So what exactly are the barriers at this point of time in the moment? Okay. So that the client should be able to recognize and address those worries at this present moment, whatever that they have, they should be able to address to them. And client must be challenged to take full responsibility about and make choice, stand responsible, so that you can define your life. Four, encourage the client to adopt more, broadened and expansive, modes of existence, even in day-to-day experiences also. So it's like, personal growth only. I mean, slowly reaching out to what is life. Death is inevitable. So why don't you have a meaningful life and be compassionate to your own life? I think that's all about existential approach, I believe. So what is the therapist, function and role in this? So here, naturally, the main goal of is to understand the unique experiences of the client here, right? Especially when the client is trying to avoid responsibility. బాధ్యత లేకుండా ఎందుకున్నాడు తన లైఫ్ పట్ల, అది important. So it's like, knowingly or unknowingly, they are restricting their existence, right? So better that the counselor deal with such clients. So because they have very limited understanding about their own problems here. So the client's, function is to help the client realize how their actions and decisions are actually minimizing their own understanding about their own selves. So here, another important thing is to, challenge the client to identify the ways that they have lost connection to their own true self. Why did you lose that connection with your own self? Why are you avoiding yourself? Why are you avoiding your life? So that's exactly what is to be challenged here. So, and client's experience in the therapy would be something like, the journey of the client is, yes, it is to find the ultimate meaning of his life, right? It's not solving only the immediate problems, it's more than that. So, they are confronted time to time, and they will be able to identify and definitely overcome the obstacles also, which is actually not allowing them to gain a purposeful existence naturally. So, and client will always, kind of feel encouraged to live the life with courage, hope, and to have willingness to, find meaning in their life also. To find meaning is the most important of all the things with this therapy. Okay. So any doubts? No doubt, huh? Yes.
Basic 6 basic dimensions. No,
Who is
Ye-
this?
ma'am, you told that 6 basic
No, who
dimensions.
is this, please?
Is Vasundhara.
Yeah. First, the best thing is to introduce yourself,
Okay,
and
sorry,
you should
ma'am.
come up. Yeah, then you should come up with your doubt.
Okay,
I'm
ma'am.
yeah.
First is capacity of self-awareness. Second one is freedom. Striving for identity is third one. What is the fourth one, ma'am?
Can anybody say?
This, ma'am, I'm Shobha. Fourth one is the search for meaning of life.
Very good. Excellent. Next.
Search. Okay, maybe that
Next,
heading.
next, fifth one. Fifth one. What is the fifth one?
Anxiety as a condition of living.
Yes, yes. Sixth one. Awareness of death and
Awareness.
non-being. Yeah, true. So, who is this Chandrakala? Medha, EPS, Young Minds, T Challengers, Mentor, Life Skills, Subconscious, NPL Master. Chandrakala, are you here, Chandrakala? Yes? Yeah, Chandrakala is here. Yeah, I'm just going through the, participants. First time I'm going through this. Okay, okay. Fine. Someone is not muting their mic, audio. Chandrakala, just mute it. Yeah, that's better. Now, next unit is, yeah. So far, we could complete up till 7 units, right? Yes, you can speak, please. Share. So now you will be entering into another challenging unit. This is unit 8. Okay. So unit 8 is all about, cognitive behavioristic approach, acceptance and commitment therapy. It's kind of, other dialectical behavior therapies, all this. So today I want you people to actually, maybe I can just, enter into cognitive behavioristic approach, but have you done any theory on this so far? Cognitive behavioral theory. Yes. Personality theories. Beck's cognitive therapy. Nobody is speaking. That means, not. So quite a few of you have completed your PGs also. So then I have to just, mention about these theories also, because not very detailed, it is not given because this is completely based on counseling psychology approach, perspective. So you wouldn't be able to do, deeper this thing about, but still I am trying to be as deep as possible. Okay. For each and every theory, that's exactly how I'm going. So about unit 8, as I told you, it's about cognitive behavioral approaches in counseling. And this is to understand Albert Ellis' rational emotive behavior therapy also, and to understand what therapies or approaches come under third wave CBT. So first, cognitive behavior therapy here, they have arrived in the field of psychology to basically address mental health disorders and, of course, enhance the very well-being. The most important, these days, people are doing, some extra courses also to call themselves as CBTs, any, REBTs, etc., etc. So here, the behavior therapy will be labeled as first wave, and cognitive therapy is generally labeled as the second wave therapy, respectively. So Beck is the first one who started this CB approach, and Albert Ellis, actually, Donald Machenbaum and Albert Ellis. So they have pioneered this work. So cognitive behavioral therapies, in fact, it is so very widely practiced, researched, and a lot has been developed from 60s only, actually. And all these therapies, they come under one term, that is, cognitive therapy or rational emotive therapy or multimodal therapies. That means all together they put them under this multimodal therapies, actually. And most of the ideas, thoughts, and concepts are very much interconnected. It's all about changing the perceptual distortions or negative thought patterns. And what exactly is, it's like, uh, changing the person's, thought process. What is actually taking the person away from normal being, or why a person is leading himself into distress, especially emotional distress. So how to help the person to overcome the emotional distress so that, his well-being can be improved. So this is like, a very structured therapy, highly time limited, goals are very, very technically, it's all goal oriented only. And generally, it is like to address the specific problems like anxiety, depression, phobia, and even OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders. So here the techniques in CBT, it's like, cognitive restructuring. That means just changing their own negative thinking pattern. That's called as cognitive restructuring. And even other therapies are also there, especially, exposure therapy and various, behavioral experimental, these techniques are also come under this. And here, third wave is kind of, evolution. It's like ACT, acceptance commitment therapy, DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. All those come under third wave therapies. And even mindful approaches, these are like, recent ones, right? Mindfulness based cognitive therapy, stress reduction, then compassion focused therapy, all they also come under third wave only. So many, they are used collectively for various, issues to be addressed here. Then mostly, they all collectively use it, especially to address these third wave therapies. So they are used to address issues like, chronic pain, personality disorder, where there is emotional dysregulation, mindful practices, right? And especially cognitive therapy based mindfulness based stress reduction techniques and all that. So this is to this particular, very chapter is to understand these approaches, especially Beck's, Ellis, and ACT and DBT techniques here, approaches. So Beck cognitive therapy is, it's like he developed a system of this therapy, which is cognitive therapy, of course. It stresses on our belief system, how important is one's belief system, thinking process, right? Because it's the beliefs and thought pattern which is determining our behavior and feelings. It all starts with one thought. So your thought leads to a particular feeling, and that, together gives the behavior. Because that is the one which, and where does the thought comes? From your belief. So where exactly your belief starts, how exactly your belief actually directs, your thought goes, and your thought releases that feeling, and all together gives to you an action called behavior. That's exactly you need to understand. So main goal of this cognitive therapy is to understand where exactly beliefs are wrong, distorted beliefs. And generally, certain techniques are used to change this wrong thinking or maladaptive thinking or inconsistent thinking. So, and incorporating, of course, various methods to change the behavior also. So basically, he was a psychoanalyst, and when he was observing his patients, he was going through various, understandings about patients' experiences, thoughts, and all that. And here, as the clients were uh, engaged into very free associations and how they were like sharing, then he started attending to these automatic thoughts that they were coming in their minds. So all these automatic thoughts or cognitions which were not under the patient's control. So what he observed was like, every time the patient experienced some automatic thought about which he was unaware of, it was always, kind of associated. Once the automatic thought comes on which, a patient doesn't have the control, and this automatic thought will be followed by some kind of unpleasant feeling. So, but the feeling they were very much aware of, thought they were not aware of. So he was able to identify that, there are negative themes that were emerging from the free association. So he was comparing his observations to Freud's that pre-conscious thing. Okay. So he was interested in understanding what the clients were telling to themselves and the way they monitored themselves, right? How exactly was their internal communication going on? So through this internal communication system only, our beliefs are generally formed. Okay. So it is very important that we build our selves to, have certain kind of, rules or standards. Then only you will not go haywire during this internal communication. If your values and standards are intact, then naturally, your internal, in spite of various internal communications, you will still stand stable even in any kind of situation, distressed situation also. So these are called as schemas, actually, forming rules for ourselves and standards and or thought patterns. So these which determines one's experiences, like how they are supposed to be understood, perceived, or interpreted, and all that. So, especially those who are depressed, they used, some kind of internal conversation. It generally, kind of completely, uh, it's like, a collection of self-blame, self-criticism, those who are into, deep depression. So when client is engaging in this kind of depressed behavior, they predict naturally, failure, some disaster to occur. So wherever there is a chance, in fact, they fail, in fact, even if there is a positive opportunity or some chance to improve also, they fail to understand that they, in spite of that also, from that also, they draw some kind of negative interpretation only. So, so he kind of, formulated like these observations and kind of shift, negative cognitive shift. He developed a concept like this. It means when an individual focuses on negative information about themselves and ignores any kind of positive information, okay? So even if it is relevant to them. So such thinking is very much common among people who are suffering from depression. So they focus only on the negative information, but not on the positive information. They simply ignore positive information. So their thoughts are very much automatic and they are not aware also about this negative thinking, right? So those who are actually, like going somewhere or writing an exam or going for a interview. So first itself, they make up their mind saying that some notion, like I can never be successful in this. I will never pass. I will never get through. I can't do anything right. So this is kind of, reflects that lack of self-worth, in fact. So it's a schema. It's a kind of, thought pattern. Schema means thought pattern. So the problem with this, automatic thought is that, he expresses such a belief in spite of or despite, his hard work, all the hard work, he prepares for the exam, he does, everything, but still he stands for his own negative thought about his failure. That's it. So even when the student, they find, some evidence that they can perform well also, that evidence also somehow, fails to stand long for him or her. So he focused, on this suffering from depression only first. So he was applying his concept of this automatic thought only about his wrong beliefs, bad beliefs, distorted, false beliefs, cognitive schemas, right? So even to other psychological disorders also, he identified different schemas which are common to different types of emotional disorders. And he started developing strategies for treating them also. So here, in fact, there are some assumptions of cognitive therapy based on. So people's internal communication is accessible to introspection, number one. People's clients' beliefs hold deeply personal significance. Number three, these personal meanings can be uncovered by who clients themselves, right? Rather than by therapist interpretation, clients themselves can uncover their personal meanings. So here the people tend to maintain core beliefs, about themselves, others, world, etc. So the goal of the therapist is to restructure all these core beliefs. Why? Because beliefs are making them or forcing them to go in a particular thought pattern, right? And that is leading to a particular mood and that to a particular behavior. So here the core beliefs are to be changed. That is going to change their thought process. And that is going to make them, naturally, the feelings to behavior. That's exactly how it is to be understood. So people with emotional difficulties, again, thought patterns sometimes or many times they're unaware, but feelings are with them. They're able to feel all that, right? So people with emotional difficulties will definitely, end up doing some logical errors, which will definitely change their very objective reality. And still, these errors lead to some other, faulty beliefs or conceptions or assumptions, etc., etc. And slowly they enter into a vicious, circle of cognitive distortions. Okay. So there are some, important cognitive distortions here. Cognitive distortions means misperceptions, perceptual distortions also.
Madam,
Yes.
I have a doubt. Can I ask?
Yeah. Who is this?
I'm Lawrence.
Yeah. Tell me.
Madam, you just spoke about thought patterns, schemas, and
Mm.
depression. Now,
Mm.
I just wanted to know if depression is genetic in nature or is
Huh.
it only individualistic?
No. I mean, there are so many, environmental factors though, right?
Yeah.
There are
Okay.
few, I mean, it's yet to be proved. In fact, in few cases, probably there is evidence also.
Okay.
Like it is, genetically, yeah, it is genetically predisposed to. I mean, it's a kind
Okay.
of, disease, first of all, because
Okay.
there are so many other deficiency, for example, vitamin
Yeah.
deficiency, hormonal, this thing. So there are n number of factors which could be leading to depression, isn't it? Right?
Okay. Okay.
So
So there is,
depression, especially, major depression, it should be treated by, medical psychiatrist and psychotherapist, right?
okay.
So it's like a teamwork.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not like, simply you counsel them, you provide them with a therapy and it is resolved. It's not like that. So there
Okay.
are n number of factors, but at the same time, yes, in certain, families, it is like that. Probably
Yes.
genetically they have
Yes.
these predispositions too. But
Yes.
still, yes, there are remedies also for this.
Okay.
Because when they have the dispositions like this, better that they follow a particular lifestyle with
Okay.
certain, kind of changes in your very thought pattern,
Okay.
right? So with so many other, changes in their psychological change, I mean to say, emotionally,
Okay.
psychologically, cognitively, in a well-built kind of, atmosphere, I mean to say, right?
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
it is already there, for example, predisposition. If someone is predisposed to become an alcoholist, because that is also, it is, there are few evidences to say that, even alcoholism is also, genetically, predisposed in certain, this thing, right? Even aggressive behavior, but still lot to be, like researched about. But yes, there are few like that. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I just asked because I've come across a family. wherein
Okay.
3 generations of people, one after the other, committed suicide due to depression
Oh.
in every 5 years.
Hmm. So
Thanks a
these
lot, ma'am.
ideations, yes, I agree. These ideations could be, like maybe genetically there could be some, probings here probably. I mean, but entirely you cannot relate it to genetics because almost again, like more than 50% are environmental factors. You can understand the next generation, the kind of family structure, what they have, the child
Okay.
rearing, practices that they have, family, relationship they have,
Okay.
right? So, I mean, that kind of network what they have built for their family members and neighbors with relatives, friends. See, there could be many other issues also. Their very thought pattern, right? So that's the reason, you need to see the entire thing holistically. Then see at 360 degrees. Then only you'll understand. But yes,
Okay.
as you said, I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks for clearing the
Yeah.
doubt.
Yes. So tomorrow we'll be doing, these distortions because even if I start, I won't be able to complete it. But hereafter, yeah, almost major theories have come to an end. So after this, yes, we can go little. Maybe another two approaches are still, in depth we need to do. The others are, it's okay. I mean, kind of, we can complete it in. Yeah, I hope you people are able to follow. So if you have any doubts, we can always discuss at the end of the class. Thank you for today. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank
madam.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.